All right, let's talk about a story that sounds completely made up. A story where the biggest, most powerful brand on the planet just surrenders. Publicly. Unconditionally.
The year is 1985, and this year is about to go down in marketing history for all the wrong reasons, and then, somehow, for all the right ones.
So on April 23rd of that year, the Coca-Cola company basically holds a press conference and tells the world that its 99-year-old iconic product was a mistake. And get this, they weren't just changing the recipe. No, they were killing it, taking it off the shelves forever.
But here's where the story gets really wild. What if this massive, epic blunder wasn't a blunder at all? What if it was actually a stroke of accidental genius? Was this the biggest failure in corporate history? Or was it the single greatest marketing victory of all time, just disguised as a total catastrophe? That's what we're going to find out.
So, to really get why Coke would do something that seems, completely insane, you have to understand the battlefield. In the early 80s, the undisputed king of drinks was Coca-Cola. But quietly, they were under siege.
You have to remember, Coke wasn't just a soda. It was everything. It was a piece of American culture. It was on the front lines with soldiers in World War II. It literally went to space with astronauts. For decades, their whole thing was, it's the real thing. It was woven into the fabric of the whole world's identity.
But behind all that confidence, a really different story was playing out. For 15 years straight, Coke's market share was slipping, just a little bit year after year. But it was happening, and there was one big reason why. A young, hungry, and really aggressive challenger called Pepsi.
And Pepsi was playing smart. They weren't just running ads, they took the fight to the streets with something called the Pepsi Challenge. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some cute marketing gimmick. It was a public humiliation for Coke. In blind taste tests all across the country, people consistently chose Pepsi. They just liked the sweeter taste better. Coke was getting beaten right out in the open.
So, back at Coke headquarters in Atlanta, you can imagine, a quiet panic is starting to set in. They're looking at all this data, and they come to what seems like a totally logical, rational conclusion. If the problem is the taste, well, then we have to change the taste. And that's when they launch Project Kansas. This thing was top secret, one of the most closely guarded projects in corporate history. The mission was simple, but huge. Create a new formula. A formula that could beat Pepsi in a blind taste test, sure, but even more important, it had to beat their own original Coke. And the scale of this thing was just massive. We're not talking about a few focus groups here. They conducted 200,000 blind taste tests. It was the most expensive, most extensive research project the company had ever done. They were not messing around.
And the results? They were absolutely staggering. The new formula wasn't just a little better, it was an undisputed champion. It crushed Pepsi. But here's the kicker. It also consistently beat their own original Coke formula. The numbers were crystal clear. They thought, we've done it. We have a certified blockbuster on our hands.
So on paper, this was a perfect, data-driven decision. Absolutely flawless. But they made one single catastrophic mistake, a fatal flaw in their research. See, they asked 200,000 people, do you like this new taste better? But they never once asked the most important question. Are you okay with us getting rid of your favorite drink forever to make way for this new one?
So fast forward to that day, April 23, 1985. Armed with what they believed was totally irrefutable data, the top brass at Coca-Cola walk onto a stage in New York City and they detonate a cultural bomb.
The CEO gets up there, a guy named Roberto Goizueta, and he says, the best has become even better. And then he drops the bombshell. The original formula, the secret recipe they'd kept in a bank vault for almost 100 years, was finished, done. It was being permanently discontinued and replaced by this new Coke.
And what happened next? Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted. This wasn't just some negative feedback on Twitter, This was a full-blown national revolt. The company's headquarters was just flooded with angry phone calls. At the peak, they were getting 8,000 angry calls every single day.
This stopped being about a soft drink almost immediately. People were literally hoarding cases of the old stuff. There were protests in the streets. People felt personally betrayed, like someone had stolen a piece of their childhood. It got so bad, Coca-Cola had to hire psychiatrists to counsel the people working their phone lines because they were just getting screamed at all day by people who were genuinely heartbroken.
So what went wrong? How could the data be so right, but the result be such a disaster? Well, it's because the folks at Coca-Cola made a classic, fundamental mistake. They completely confused the product with the brand.
Okay, so let's break that down. The product, that's the actual stuff in the can, right? The brown, sweet, carbonated liquid. And yeah, the research was correct. People did prefer the taste of the new product over the old one. That was a fact.
But the brand? Oh, the brand is something totally different. It's not a physical thing, it's an idea. It's that whole collection of memories and emotions you have. It's the feeling of Christmas morning from those old commercials. It's the taste of a Coke on your first date at the movies. It's a symbol. And you just can't measure that in a blind sip test. And this really is the heart of the whole story. It's like, imagine if the Louvre Museum announced, "Hey everyone, we've scientifically improved the Mona Lisa. We made her smile brighter." You wouldn't think it's an upgrade, right? You'd see it as a desecration. And that's exactly what Coca-Cola did. They had just improved their own Mona Lisa.
So now, sales are absolutely tanking. The public is basically in open rebellion. The executives are trapped. Their shiny new product has only been out for a few weeks, and their 100-year-old empire is crumbling around them. They had only one move left to make.
So, after just 79 incredibly chaotic days, on July 11th, the very same executives had to walk back out in front of the press. And trust me, there were no smiles this time. They officially announced they were giving up. They were surrendering. The original Coke was coming back.
The news was so big, TV shows were literally interrupted for the announcement. It was like a national holiday. And then, the most incredible thing happened. The sales for the original formula, which they now called Coca-Cola Classic, didn't just go back to where they were before, they skyrocketed. They blew past their old numbers and left Pepsi completely in the dust.
So here's the final, mind-bending takeaway. Even though it was a genuine, embarrassing failure, the whole new Coke Fiasco accidentally became the most powerful marketing campaign in history. It was the ultimate proof of that old saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. By taking Coke away from people, the company forced millions to realize something they never knew before. They didn't just like Coke, they loved it.
And that's the lesson here. A brand isn't what a company puts on a billboard. It's the little piece of emotional real estate it owns in your heart. Coca-Cola forgot that for 79 very long days. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What company out there right now might be making that exact same mistake?
What detail stuck with you the most? I really do read the comments, so let me know. We're always digging up interesting stories. Subscribe to Fathom if you're curious about what we'll uncover next.